I know you guys especially hate it because you actually are physicists. I hate it as a biologist. Physicist? Fuck.
I get triggered by astrology.
I get triggered by astrology too. I'm like, yo.
Or really triggered when people ask, is astronomy related to astrology?
Isn't it? No, I'm just kidding. No, I used to fuck them up all the time. Not on purpose.
Yes.
And
yeah,
it was
just because they're too close words.
They are.
Like etymology and etymology.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The thing is, like with astrology, I'm thinking, okay, biology.
Yeah.
We might as well just start talking to Mike Jackson.
Yeah, so
we're just starting, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're just
so I'm thinking like astrology, biology. That one must be the science one, astronomy. But then I was like, I never heard of astrologers within physics, but I've heard astronomers. That messed me up.
That's true.
But yeah. So with that, I had a student. My first or second year of teaching here. She, actually, this wasn't my student. She was in like the class I was teaching, and I had apparently her twin brother in my class, right? And so I'm just teaching. I'm just doing everything normal, right? And one day, the lab coordinator, the professor who actually runs the lab, calls me in, and he says to me, you got to complain. I was like, okay, what's it about? And he tells me that he called me in because he thought it was particularly interesting. Because he says that
was a bead of sweat forming in your
yeah, and I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I think what did I do? And he tells me that the sister of one of my students came into him and told him that I wasn't TAing strictly enough. Mind you, she's not in my class. Never have I ever seen her. And I'm thinking that's weird, that's strange, why? And turns out she went to the lab coordinator and complained that her brother was getting better grades than she was, and that there's no conceivable way he's smarter than her, and that therefore it must be me as a TA who's at fault because I might not be grading them strictly enough.
Wow.
So the angel of the family is getting jealous that the devil of the family is succeeding better.
Or potentially getting, basically. And I was like, looking at my lab coordinator, he thought it was funny. He thought it was hilarious. He was telling me, don't change anything. I just thought you should know this. And I was like, never have I ever heard of a student complaining about an instructor whose class they never even been in. And then, later on, I'm not saying any names here or anything, but like later on, I was like, we get to see everyone's grade for every single section. And it turns out the student in my class actually got a higher final grade than his sister, and that's all just like fill in the bubble sort of stuff you take at the testing center. I have no play in that. I know when it comes down to grading lab reports, fine, but when you do quizzes and you do final exams, I have no control over that. And guess who still did better?
Wow,
brother.
She got nothing to say now.
I mean, I've never even met her. I don't even know what she looks like. I just know that she exists.
Wow.
I have noticed that when I was TAing, there were always students that they were just dead set on hating you from the beginning.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Because like I had a couple students where I just knew as soon as they were in my class that it was going to be a problem with them the entire year.
Yeah.
And they were going to try to do anything to make it skewed that I'm screwing them in the class somehow. And I'm just like, I can already tell it's going to be you. I know it's going to be you as well. Fine, we'll just write it out the whole year.
Yeah, you're one of those. I mean, I had I had a few instances like that. I'm like, yo, why are you doing this? Like, I don't know you. And Terrence.
So you have noticed that?
Yeah, definitely. And you and I have been talking about like power dynamics and this idea of authority within classes and everything. And sometimes I do wonder. I'm like, okay, well, because I look really young and I look like I just hopped out of undergraduate. In fact, when I did teach, I legitimately was within one standard deviation of the average student's age in my class. I was 23 and like the average student was like 21. So they could definitely see me as like, oh, he's not the same as a white-haired professor or the suited and booted up dude with the perfect wristwatch shoe combo or what have you. I was in there just wearing jeans and a button up, polo.
Right. And I can definitely see that. That's why I try to establish that authority student gap very, very quickly, because I don't want you to get the wrong impression, because it's my fault actually at the end of the day. If I'm like, I think of it as if I'm not setting that setting the standard from day one of what this relationship is, then I feel like that's my fault.
Man,
like you need to know that I am the one who is running this class, not you.
That's hilarious because I'm doing it way different than you guys.
What are you doing?
I have the us versus them mentality with my students. Like I'm on their team. And the professors are. I'm like,
honestly, so you're like the savior, the mediator one.
I am the mediator.
Yeah.
So what I tried to do is structure my class where I let the students know that I will do everything in my power to make sure that you pass the class, but you have to put in the work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not against you. Like I make sure to frame it in that way. And if they see me as an authority figure in the sense that I have control over their grade, but I tell them that I'm following a rubric and the rubric is as objective as possible. You know what I'm saying?
I think I take a similar approach. Maybe mine sounds a little bit too harsh.
Yeah, because I was like,
but I'm trying to just make it the point that I do get students who try to push the line sometimes.
Gotcha.
So I have to really nip that in the bud fairly quickly, right?
Right. And you know, I'll say that I'm kind of on that side too.
Yeah.
Because I was just trying to understand your stance on it.
Yeah,
and I think
just for the audience, we had a whole discussion before this. I wish we would have just recorded. We had a whole discussion on the power dynamics of students and whatnot.
The philosophy of superficiality versus humanity and everything.
Yes.
And so I was just trying to understand it. I don't think it's wrong. I was just trying to tell you like how my personal feeling and understand yours, because I definitely, like I said, I definitely see in instances, like in the instance where students see me as one of them, I do have to question whether they are taking this as seriously as they would when I'm trying to, help them learn a topic. When compared with other TAs who are like, yo,
very
you and me,
true.
I'm up here, you're down here. I demand this out of you, and I demand that out of you. And I usually don't really take that approach as much because it's more like for me, I have to dial my professor back sometimes. I'm like, yo, we can't request these students to do this because right now during quarantine, if they go and fall in a lake right now, we're the ones who are getting boned. If we tell them to do something without our supervision, they get hurt. They can annihilate me.
Oof. So that's a little bit more high stakes than us.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that in physics. And for the people who may not be familiar, Jackson, you are a ecology and evolution PhD candidate, biologist. So that's dealing with marine life stuff, right? Is that a good way to describe it? Maybe you can describe a little bit more for the audience.
I would say that ultimately, I am a marine biologist who's interested in the evolution of marine animals, how they respond to climate change and other factors. And I would also say that I'm very much in the quantitative genetics realm because I use quantitative genetics tools to answer these questions. And so basically, I have more skills of evolution than I do of marine biology now at this point. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm a marine biologist.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just to let everybody know, what we're same school. Well, not anymore, but Juan's still same school. Yeah, same graduate experience.
Teaching.
Came in at the same time.
Right.
So we were going through all the same hells at the same time.
Right. Terrence.
Me, I had to say fuck this, and I dipped out.
Yeah, Terrence and I, we both came in a similar fellowship. So.
Man, you guys, that's such a good fellowship, by the way.
It is.
I'm so jealous of you guys.
Yeah, that fellowship got me this house, baby.
Yeah, I know. Terrence is now a property owner.
That's a grad student. That's like, come on, bro.
He's technically my landlord, which is hilarious. Well, the bank is the landlord.
Terrence. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
the bank owns us all at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Right, definitely. Man.
So I'm helping you pay your mortgage, really.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But so the whole student power dynamic thing is really interesting. I think I kind of do take the Juan approach. I just sound like mine's more harsh, but I think most graduate students take that approach.
Right.
I'm just getting caught into the more of the extreme case.
Yeah,
right? Because I do really have that embodied in my mind, but I don't ever really have to take it there usually. But if I do, I'm prepared to.
Yeah, because I figured that because like knowing you, for as long as I have.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't see you doing this, dude.
No,
So
no.
I'm like,
Same here.
because I was like,
okay.
I hear you saying it, but I can't see you doing
Yeah.
this.
Okay, yeah. So I'm probably giving a bad impression because I'm thinking of like,
Yeah.
what would I do in the edge case?
In the extreme
Because my normal
situation.
case, I feel like most of my students would say I'm very laid back.
Right.
I hardly ever have to assert myself. All the students are really great.
Yeah.
I think they all are. I appreciate all of them. I think they're all really intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
So I never have to really go down that direction. But of course, there are some instances where I have to like
Yeah.
slow down.
Yeah.
But like you're
You
thinking
know.
about like, in the instance where the student's going to square up in front of you,
Yeah.
with you in
Well, I don't
front of
think
the
anybody's
class.
that dumb.
Well, I
They are
just,
paying for
it's
this.
just funny to me imagining you saying, "Don't make me raise my voice," and the students being like, "You can go louder. It can go another decibel louder than this."
This is not my final form.
Yeah, just like boom. It's just like a booming voice, ominously, like
Yeah.
coming from everywhere. Like, what the fuck? How do you
No,
do that?
yeah, I think I feel like my intensity is much less
Yeah, okay.
than it actually is in real life.
Yeah, because I will say we ran into one of your students randomly.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh, she's cool. Like,
Oh, she's great.
yeah,
Great.
she's cool. And then
All my students have been great, man.
And yeah, I mean, she was just like, "Oh my god!" Like she was just so happy to see you, and I was just like, "Man, I've ran into my previous students, but I'm wondering if maybe I have a more professional relationship."
Maybe you do,
But
I can also see you giving off more of the mysterious, ominous guy vibe, Juan. Where
don't
he's
know,
kind of
enigmatic,
the
like-
the enigmatic TA.
yeah, just
What do you
don't really
think,
know
Jackson?
who I
What do you
am.
think? Yeah.
Or what I'm thinking about how I've seen several students out. Like there's been times where I've had a student give me my drink at the bar while I'm like deep into drunkenness.
Oh, see, that's the worst.
By the way,
times-
this is a college town, so yeah, you run
Yeah,
into
yeah.
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 And you know, most of the employees that you see at most of the businesses
Yeah.
are going to be like undergrads somewhere,
Yeah.
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
it's
yeah.
in the store, at Publix, whether it's at the local bar. And so, I mean, I was at a bar and one of my students was there, and I'm just like, hey, he said, Jackson? I'm like, dude. You know?
That's hilarious.
And I mean,
You don't live in the lab? What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you don't shut down. I mean, one time I went to I think, and I was dancing.
Oh, don't be putting locations out there, Jackson.
No, it's fine. I'll be.
They already
yeah.
know where we're at, right?
No.
They don't.
3 hours later.
Bro, we're online, man.
I
We
could
can't
just-
be having crazy people. We do
Right.
we do podcasts about aliens, bro.
Right.
Yeah, we have a crazy.
I get cranks emailing me about their theories of everything and
You're
shit.
kidding me. Okay,
No.
yeah, okay. Well, all right, yeah.
This will be cut out, but yeah.
In
go
that
ahead.
case, yeah, we'll cut that part out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the product placement right there, dude. Like how
I'm
subtle.
a college football fan. I'm just a college football fan.
Yeah. That's why I know we're here.
No. So
But-
you see students at like the bar and stuff.
Yeah, so I was at a club and I'm dancing with a woman, like dancing with a woman. And
What does that mean?
what do you want me to say? I'm
Not
yiking on her.
PG-13. It's not PG-13.
Daggering her? Is that what we're talking about?
daggering, I'm grinding on her.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like a student comes up to me while I'm doing this and says, Jackson?
Oh no.
And I'm like,
I like how he made him sound like a baby. Jackson.
and you know, I'm just like, I'm sitting there just like, I'm like, whoa, hey.
Oh my
You
god.
know? And then she said, "Oh my God, it's so crazy to see you here." And I was like, "Yo, can't you say I'm preoccupied?"
Goodness, man. That's
You kind of cock blocking here.
that's mortifying. That's mortifying.
Yeah, and I mean, it's happened on. I've seen when I'm out there trying to have fun and try to avoid other, you know, human beings from campus and from the professional field.
Yeah.
And then they see me out there, drunk, you know, making a fool of myself on the dance floor.
Have you seen professors while you've been out?
No, you gotta remember, it's ecology and evolution. These people like to look at birds. They like to go out canoeing. They like to dive. I never dive recreationally. I'm not gonna lie.
You're sick of it, huh?
Not really. It's more like I'm at the point where when I started scuba diving, it was strictly for scientific purposes or for learning purposes or to do work for commercial reasons. I mean, I've never been a commercial diver.
So it was never a
but
pastime.
It was never a pastime. And so it was
Gotcha.
hard for me to say I'm going to gear all this way up simply for diving for fun. And I've been in most of the places I lived in you wouldn't want to die for fun anyway.
Okay.
So
They have nice springs here.
springs, yeah, they have very nice springs here.
Well, I guess you're probably talking about from back home.
I'm talking about home. I'm talking about the normal, like the ocean,
Right,
stuff,
right,
like
right,
where
right.
I normally go. But I've been to Moorea, and in Moorea, it's pristine. You can see for like 120 feet.
Dang.
And you're a physicist, so you probably understand a little bit more about this. But when you're in a fluid, it's harder to see.
Yeah.
And everything.
Oh, you're saying why is it?
No, I'm not saying why.
Okay.
But but we also know.
The impressiveness of like seeing that far down. Yeah.
Yes, seeing far underwater is way more impressive than seeing far in air.
Yeah.
And everything underwater looks to be closer until you're like this.
Right.
So
right.
everything looks like it's closer than it is. But or is it farther? I forgot. Either way, it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And you could see legitimately 150 feet in any direction, and it's surreal.
Crazy.
Awesome.
Crazy.
But I was working, so I couldn't.
Yeah, I've seen some couple Clearwater places here.
Yeah.
Though, for sure.
What's like the best place you've visited? Like you think like for like overall diving? Because honestly, marine bio like sounds so cool. Like I wanted to do evolutionary biology, and like, but the school that I went to didn't offer it like as a specialty. So I was like, fucking physics, why not?
Yeah, a great
Clear jump, right? Like
yeah.
just,
an obvious jump.
yeah. But I was just like, doing field work was like the one thing that I really liked about it, because you get to travel and you get to like just visit locales and use the excuse of I'm doing work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, do you feel like that? Like it's just like that's definitely a plus, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that me going to Moorea without having to spend a dime was really surreal, because I recognize that people would legitimately dream about going to this place and be able to do what I'm doing. They just don't either have the time or the funds to do it. And you were asking me what's the coolest place I've been?
Yeah, like diving and stuff. Like for field work, I guess.
For field work, I'd definitely say Moorea, French Polynesia, because that was the clearest water I've ever seen. It being clear doesn't mean it's healthy, because when we went there, nearly everything was dead. But it was really surreal to be able to actually go out and do something like that. I'd also say that there was a barge, I think, that the Air Force set up somewhere, and we went on that like 60 feet down, and there are these Goliath groupers there, and that was really cool. And there was a spring that I dove in for practice, because you have to be at a certain diving level before you can do scientific diving and commercial diving. And so to practice, I went to a nearby spring, and it was like super clear. They had like an obstacle course on the water. You can swim underneath stuff. And it was like, it was so low pressure, because all I had to do was go and swim around and just make sure I don't drown.
Right.
Have you? What's the deepest you've like taken a dive at?
God, I went.
No, because I know like it. There's a whole thing, right? There's a whole chemical process.
Yeah, man, that shit sounds too intense for me, man.
I've only read about it in my bio books, and I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I want to dive.
Yeah.
Like,
I could explain a little bit.
Diving.
Yeah,
And this makes sense, because you guys deal with pressure. It literally only has to do with partial pressure between like your internal organs.
Is that all? It seems more complicated than this.
I mean, that's what I think. And because the thing is, what happens is that the air that you breathe, it goes faster, because you're breathing in more atoms of the air, more molecules of the air. Yeah. Because the air is much more pressurized, so you burn through air a lot more quickly the lower you go.
Okay.
And so when you dive, you have to try to stay neutrally buoyant, so you don't like smash into the bottom or shoot up to the surface. So basically, that means you have to. You have to control how much air is in your lungs. So you control where you are in the water column by breathing, because it makes you more or less buoyant. And so you burn through more air the deeper you are, and you have to take in much more air to fill your lungs the same volume, because it's under so much pressure. Wow. So the issue isn't really with going down. Going down, the pressure doesn't really hurt you or anything. You just have to make sure you equalize your sinuses, but you just hold your nose and you blow into your nose, and it puts enough air into it so it equalizes the pressure on the outside in the water. But when you go up, if your body has become situated to the pressure down at like 80 feet or whatever. If you go up too quickly, some of the nitrogen gas bubbles within your blood, they could get bigger and they can fuck your entire body up. That's actually what the bend is called, which is actually called decompression sickness. So decompression is way more dangerous than just compression on the human body because we're mostly fluid, but it's with the air when going back up that the issue becomes an issue.
I see.
But the issue is that if you move too fast, right?
If you go up too quickly, the nitrogen will not be able to absorb back into your tissues quickly enough.
And can you feel any warning signs of that?
Pain? Pain?
A feeling of dying? A general feeling of dying?
Man.
The feeling of death? Yeah.
Like, how do you know you're going too fast, though? Like, how do you know you're just like, oh, shit, I'm moving up too fast?
Yeah.
You have depth gauges on you. And basically you want to be as conservative as possible. You want to rise as slowly as possible. And usually a general good...
like rule of thumb.
Good rule is like I think they said 10 meters per minute, which like is.
So you really can't feel it physically as you're moving up. You have to look at your gauges.
Oh no,
to really know.
it can get you by the time you get to surface, depending on where you are. So when you are underwater, right? There's some weird biochemistry stuff going on with human physiology where the longer you are at a certain depth, the more likely you are to run into these issues. And they actually have your computer you have the computer algorithms that tell you you've been at this depth for too long, and it actually will beep at you if you're rising too quickly. And I mean, everyone's body's different, but usually there are some good rules of thumbs. If you don't have computers, you actually have this it's like this card that says if you are at this depth for this long, here's how much time you have before you actually have to do what we call decompression diving, where you actually have to dive and rise up in a certain way where you can offload any chance of your body running into any issues. So you can if I drop you down to 180 feet right now and I pull you up within 2 seconds, you'll be fine.
What?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not down there long enough.
Because you need to be down there long enough for the
build
gases
up
to diffuse from your tissues.
It's like you're outgassing or something, and then if you're not down there enough, it doesn't get a chance to outgas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like,
I don't know if that's the right terminology. This is kind of what we use for materials science and stuff. I don't know.
I'm not using the right terminology, but basically, yes. And so, like, they actually have this extreme sport that they don't really do it as much anymore. But there's there's a big diving gear company that's actually named after some of these people who were doing this crazy extreme sport. And I think it was mares, but basically they'd attach someone to basically a weight, toss them overboard, and they just hold their breath without any scuba gear, and they just see how far down they can send them.
Jesus, like the mafia, they got bricks tied to their feet.
They would really hold on to this thing, or they'd be weighted. They just go like hold their breath as long as possible, going down 180 feet or whatever, right?
Jesus.
And then they would get pulled up. And
imagine if the rope broke.
Well, two people actually have died. At least two people have died from this, and one of the people who started that company actually died. And what they'll normally do is that they'll have like a diver down there, right? They'll have a diver down there or two, because you should always dive with a buddy who's like around that depth, who say, okay, we expect this person to come down here, and if there's any issues that go wrong, we're going to try to save them. So they actually have on YouTube, I think, I really want to say it was mares, but it was a woman who was going down and something went wrong. Like she couldn't get yanked back up or something. And I think the divers had to rescue her and bring her back up. But by the time she was at the surface, it was like...
dead?
She got the
or just really messed up?
I don't know if she was dead at the surface, but she ended up dying later on, I want to say. But
because it's like supposed
but
to
you
be
can survive the bends,
but
right?
you can survive the bends, and come on, Jackson, speak. But basically, because of this sport, that should be an example of me explaining to you that you can go down really deep as long as you're not there for a really long time and get yanked right back up without any issues.
The time frame is the problem.
Yeah, because you won't have enough time for those gases to diffuse out.
Gotcha.
So, but the deepest I've ever been, 82 feet.
Okay. And is that like rookie numbers compared to some people?
Very rookie numbers. So usually if you get certified, usually you can dive up to like 60 feet. But I did mine through PADI. I think this is what it is. For scientific diving, on my own trips, I can only go down to 30 unless I'm like, I think unless I get permission from the diving safety officer or I'm with somebody who has like dive master level experience. And so when I did this 82 foot dive, I was with my DSO, and so that was fine. And
okay, so you have to get more certification to be able to dive deeper. Gotcha.
Yeah, so there's advanced water, there's nitrox where you have a different air blend that lets you dive for longer. There is like open water, like blue water diving, where if you're just like out in the ocean, where it's like legitimately like 1,000 meters down.
That's terrifying.
It's horrible.
Yeah. There you have to get trained for overhead. You have to get trained for a cave. Wow. I'm basic.
Imagine trying to get rid of the bends from 1,000 feet.
People have
like you
done
have to spend your whole day just constantly, just slightly going up.
Actually, that's right.
Sounds horrible, man.
Yeah. So check this out. The world's deepest dive. I forgot how deep it was. I don't think it was 1,000, but it was something obscene. Like it was very deep. It was deeper than I'd ever go. Because like for me,
it was hundreds and hundreds.
I don't think it was hundreds of hundreds. I want to say like 300, but I forgot if it was meters or feet, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does.
But I do know that there was someone out there in Saudi Arabia or some lake out in the Middle East somewhere where they went down a stupid depth, and they have a world record. But they had like 8 tanks on them. They were an entire crew. They had to go down, and then they had.
This is truly a feat.
Yeah, it was a feat. Yeah. They had to switch the tanks because they went through air so quickly.
Jeez.
And like it was crazy. Like you see this guy, he's like this with like these aluminum tanks all over his body. You know,
just one giant air tank.
Yeah, and you know, like doing that is like there's way more risk, more so than I'd say it's difficult to go down. I can go down with ease. You can just go. It's just
that the possibility of having things go wrong just increases substantially.
Yeah. Like for me, I can dive at 30 feet for legitimately like 80, 90 minutes on a single tank. And the single tank is like 3,000 psi. And you don't really want to get to the limit, so most of the time they give me like 2,800.
Okay.
But when I was at 80 feet, I could only be down there for like 12 minutes.
Wow.
So
it really starts to drop off.
I mean,
yeah.
bro,
Plus, I was scared too because I never.
Bro, I'm scared at those apartment pools that are 12 feet deep. And
I feel
like,
you, man. My ears start hurting. I'm like, fuck this, man. I'm up.
2 seconds to swim up. I'm like, oh, I almost died. I can't even imagine. Like,
and I was like on some continental shelf too, so like it would like. You know, like most of the time the ocean the seafloor is like this, but the continental shelf goes like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like you look to. I was like, please don't look to the right, because to the right of me, it was just sheer ocean.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
And I already seen sharks.
Did you?
Yeah.
What's the scariest thing you've seen in the ocean? Anything crazy?
Animal wise, or you mean like
holy shit, anything really? What comes to mind?
I imagine
some
you run
horrific
into like
shit.
because imagine you run into like poisonous fish, probably, right?
Yeah.
So one of the scariest things I think what happened was that I thought my tank was leaking at around like 50 something feet.
Oof.
Like leaking out oxygen, you're saying?
Yeah, it was leaking. And another one of the scary things was that I jumped in without my weights on. And I can do that in freshwater, but I can't do it in saltwater, because saltwater, your buoyancy is different.
Yeah. But you just float, right?
Yes, but I don't want to float, because if I'm down that 30 feet and I'm shooting up to the surface, that increases the risk of me.
Oh, but you don't realize that you have no weights as soon as you jump in?
Because like usually you have to like swim down a little bit. It's like usually, so like when you're...
But you should easily be able to correct that. Like once you start to see that your buoyancy is messed up, you can go right back up, right?
Right, I can. But when I'm down 30 feet and my team is down 50 feet, and I'm like, wait, something ain't right, and I can't.
It takes that long to tell.
Well, because he's looking at he's assuming he's swimming at the same rate, and then this team is like.
No, but what I'm thinking is like this. If you're used to having weights on, and you go down immediately, I would imagine you should be able to tell immediately the difference between having weights on and not having weights on.
Yeah, and I could tell once we were around a certain depth, because usually what happens is that your buoyancy near the surface is greater than it is near the bottom. So if you go down like 50 feet, if you can reach that depth, you can dive there of like 4 pounds. But if you're near the surface, you can't control yourself. It's really hard because of several.
Either
things.
way.
Yeah. But so the thing is, what happened is that I didn't notice until I was like, okay, I'm at the point where I should just be able to just relax.
I see.
And I was still going back up, and I was looking at my depth, and I saw them going. And I need to let them know, because if I just go up to the surface, they're going to think I got snatched up and swept out into the middle of the ocean.
Right, and now they're coming back
and
up
now
to
they're
look for you.
freaking out because they
Right.
think I might, they have no idea what happened to me.
Yeah.
So that was scary because I was like, I had to orient myself like this.
How do you even communicate that?
You're underwater, and I couldn't really communicate underwater. But like basically, they look at me and they give me the hand sign to say, "Are you like okay?" and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, we got to cut the dive up, go." So like if we are at the surface and we're like, okay, we have our regulator in, we have our air, we're gonna go down. If we are at the bottom or we have an issue, we want to go up. Like this, I think means like no air or something.
Yeah.
And basically, you can communicate with your hand signs. And be
Basically,
like,
this is never a good sign.
no, this is never a good sign. I had air. I just couldn't stay down, and that was
Right.
a risk because if I'm like this on the ocean, I already told you that because of all this stuff.
But what
that's a
happens if
big
you
risk.
can't see each other?
You should not be in a situation where you can't see each
Okay.
other.
I imagine.
And
So I know sometimes the water gets murky, right?
yes, and when that happens, you're actually supposed to buddy up and hold each other.
Oh, okay.
So I actually did have to do that in a boat basin. It was terrible. It's the worst. I want to say that was the worst dive experience I've ever had.
Wow.
Well, I couldn't see anybody. We had to buddy up. We had to look at our compass, and we had to just swim in a direction we couldn't see.
Wow.
Was that part of training, or is that like just something you guys did for field work?
Training. Thank
Damn,
goodness, because
that's-
I would never do that. If we went down, because the funny thing is we're trained to do it, but if we
Yeah.
actually went out and saw those conditions, we'd be like,
You
yeah,
never-
nah, we're caught.
Yeah.
Because that's too
We're done.
risky.
Extreme scientific field work.
It's one thing if you're like 8 feet,
Science at all costs.
right? And the thing is, people can do that, but with the cave diving, there's no sources of light. They leave all these lights and
But
everything.
you're not
I'm
trying
not a
to do
cave
all
diver,
that, bro.
And there are people who dive and like looking for bodies and like sewers and stuff, and
But they're asking for that extreme condition type
right.
Yeah.
They're not a grad student who just needs to pick up some some sea squirts. They're like, I'm an extreme guy, and they get paid for that extremeness
Yeah,
too. They
yeah.
get paid really well.
So Jackson, you're telling me if you wanted to go to industry, you would be you could get a professional diving kind of like thing, I guess.
At this point, I think I could become a commercial diver.
Damn.
If I went and got the training, because commercial divers, those are the people who work on like, rescuing stuff from sunken boats. Those are the type of people who go and like weld stuff underwater. Those guys get broken off.
yeah.
But it's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
In fact, the bends, which you brought up earlier, was a term that got made up because of commercial divers, because they were working on, I think, some bridge, like the Brooklyn Bridge or something, and then they would just toss them down there, weight them up there, toss them down there in this old school, suits, and they had infinite air.
That's awesome.
And then they just like yank them back up.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, they'd be doubled over in pain, and then they would get so much like neurological damage. They were stuck like this.
Jeez.
You
Also,
know?
their backs were bent, literally.
They like literally, if you get the bend, you can end up, damaged for life. Like I know a woman who at the bends real bad, and she always walks like this and has
Like a lazy leg or something.
she has like a
gimpy leg thing?
limp in one of her legs because of the bends. She survived it, but
What is it doing to you physiologically?
physiologically, making all the gases in your body expand.
But how does that put you in a permanent?
I guess it damages your tissue.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Well, I mean, like if you can, I don't remember all the health stuff because it's a combination of chemistry. It's a combination of human physiology because fish doesn't do this too. It's a combination of physics and partial pressure and depth and
I see.
and specific gravity.
yeah.
But is it? Do you know if it's even known what it's doing, or is it just one of these
It's
things?
known.
Where, okay.
It's known, and that's why we know how to make sure that we don't get it.
Yeah.
And in fact, they actually know it so well that if you actually end up with the bends, one of the ways they treat you is that they add the pressure back onto you in a hyperbaric chamber.
Okay, so if you get to a doctor's office, well,
I don't know how much access they have to hyperbaric chambers. I don't even know where you would go for that.
There are very few. I think within where we are, I can only name 2 places
Okay.
where you
That's
can
still
go.
much better than I would
Do
have
they have one
expected.
at the coastal lab? No.
But there is a hospital that's like 40 minutes away. So you're out there on the boat, a mile offshore. So not only are you like this at the surface, they got to rescue, they got to get you back, they got to get you into something, they got to put you on emergency oxygen because that helps you, and then they got to try to get you to the hospital. Hopefully the hospital has this, and hopefully the hospital does already have.
By the time you get there, you're just like, fuck it, I'm already bent up. Just screw it.
And the thing is with this is that because used most of the time, it's a big old chamber you got to live in for days.
Yeah.
If not just hours. Like sometimes you have to be in there for days for the point where you're safe.
Jeez.
And basically, if someone else is in there, they can't just say, okay, we got to go to the hyperbaric chamber and turn off all the pressure because your treatment might be different from that person.
Yeah.
And so with the hyperbaric chamber, they do like this false decompression where it's as if you are pressured to a certain depth and they gradually release that pressure as if you're rising up in the water column. So it's
simulating the same thing.
Simulating you doing a nice, easy ride.
Oh, that's weird. So it's like it's just continuing the process that you fucked up.
Yes. But they
So it's like you're not getting out of this either way. You're gonna still do this process.
And they put it down to the pressure. They put it down to the pressure that you probably were at, and then they just bring you up.
Damn.
And
I guess they could tell what pressure you were probably at because of the amount of gases that are released in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
more like we know how deep you probably were.
Oh, okay. So it's a guess on your own knowledge.
Because they pull you
because
up.
So if you got the bends and you're a person who doesn't know anything about diving, you just were an idiot who dived really deep or something, and you don't know what happened.
you're probably gonna die at sea.
Oh, that's true.
You're probably gonna,
So it's probably an uncommon thing to get those kind of people.
If you just come up, you're probably gonna die at sea. If you come up really bent, like you could be slightly bent and just have like a headache, some joint pain. Usually, the best way to tell.
Has it happened to you?
Sometimes when I come up, I'm like, oh, am I just sore because I've been diving, or do I have the bends? I've never been bent before.
Okay.
Most divers haven't been bent, and most of the restrictions and the training that most people receive, if followed, will not end up with you bent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but yeah, if someone else is already in that chamber, buddy, because
They hand you a pamphlet how to live with the bends.
yeah.
It'd be funny if it's like, can you scoot over to the other guy? It's like both in the chamber.
But yeah, that's the thing. The thing is like that guy. This is a pressurized chamber too.
Yeah.
You just can't crank it. You just can't pull it open while the guy's inside of it.
So how can they? Maybe medical science is already here. But when you said hyperbolic pressure chamber, I thought hyperbolic time chamber. Yeah, I was like,
it's hyperbaric for baric stuff. You know, like a barometer for pressure.
Gotcha. My brain went to DBZ, and I was like, the future is here.
Hyperbolic time.
Is that what the DBZ one is called?
Yeah.
It's a chamber that, like, do you remember they're trained in there, and then like,
Yeah, they come out all fucking SSJ 5 and shit or whatever it was.
I thought about what physical way you could actually build one. And the thing is, it simulates. It's supposed to be a pressured environment too, right? Have you seen?
You can change up the gravity. You can go and crank the gravity up to like
he's
12
like working
Gs.
at like 12 times gravity, right?
Right. But the only way
You
could
would die though. Humans would die.
Well, I mean, you could build. I'd imagine you get the same bends pressure shit because, like, because like you're working under immense pressure.
That'd be even worse because humans, like, we can't even stand those centrifuge tests.
No.
At 8 Gs, you're already passed out.
You're right.
Because you can't get blood to the brain.
But these are Dragon Ball Z characters who can survive planetary damaging attacks. It doesn't. We can't apply that to us.
They're shooting pure energy out of their palms. I think they're fine.
In their flying, it's anime. It's not.
Yeah.
It's like saying Guts can't pick that sword up without his shoulder falling out of the socket. But it's anime. We don't have to apply our physics to that.
That's true. But I was thinking about, like, if you could gradually change or increase the adaptability to like different gravities, right?
Like you're saying, like 2 times G, maybe 2G.
Over time, a species could, right? Let's say if we lived on another planet, right?
Probably 2G.
You guys might know about this better than I do. For gravity, I think gravity is a little different from just like the pressure, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same manifestation.
Yeah, because
for sure,
because
no way.
the pressure, because that has to do with something getting smaller and bigger. That's the damaging part of it.
The volume changes.
Yeah, the volume changes because human beings are mostly fluid. Most of the time, your organs aren't going to get squished at this pressure unless you go legitimately like 2,500. You know, and with gravity, that's not just about the volume of these gases within your body. It's more like like weight and how it affects your mass and
like
stuff.
your blood being able to pump to your brain,
right?
Your heart just
being
dangling
strong
there,
enough,
being strong enough to pump it there.
Yeah.
Your bone density, right? The muscles actually being able to support that weight. So 2G sounds plausible to me, but like when you start to get past that, I feel like that's getting problematic.
Especially because there are conserved laws and rules in physics that might be affected by it.
In what sense?
Like,
what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that like there's always going to be shear forces when a fluid goes through something, right?
Okay.
There's all.
Not sure if that would be at play as much if you increase the gravity.
Yeah, but that's just an example of like a rule, right? Isn't that like a
kind of?
Yeah.
So you're kind of right, but a lot of these things can be derived just from. Because we can still use our intuition in the macro scale, but the main rules of physics, basically, you can almost say in three equations: the law of conservation of energy, the law of conservation of momentum, and I guess the other one, just the law of conservation of angular momentum, which is basically the same. Pretty much law of conservation of energy and law of conservation of momentum. Those are pretty much it. And then if you want to make it angular, you add the angular part.
Your heart would be like.
Yeah.
And,
I'm just trying to imagine the heart. Yeah, the heart would have trouble with that because of the fact that it's going against 2 times gravity now.
Yeah, and
like how would your blood is going to have a hard time trying to get that pumped all the way up there.
Right, and bone density in of itself probably have to change. It probably have to change the actual like structure that actually makes your bones, because that's
people, if you were born in 2G, I'd imagine as time goes on, the babies would have more and more dense bones.
It'd probably be really, really.
More dense.
I mean, this is going to happen, bro, when they colonize Mars.
I think Mars is actually lighter than Earth, though. So
No,
it'd be
I
less
know,
than
but I'm
1G.
saying we're going to see the effects of like human evolution.
Well, we already kind of see this with people in space.
Right.
Guys who are in space with zero G's, they come all atrophied. But they've been trying to work against that now by making them have to do a daily workout regimen.
right. Even then, their bone density changes. They're a little bit taller and stuff, right? And the thing is with that is that
Oh, are you serious? They get taller? Bro, I'm going to have to go to space.
you get, but it
Start that
reverts.
NBA career.
It reverts once you get back down here, though. So
It just reinforced my spinal column, like with steel, like with some steel. Like,
Right, you just get to the height you want. And
Yeah.
just lock it in.
Yeah, exactly.
just nail it right there.
Yeah.
So are you
he
sure?
grows a tenth of an inch.
Because my Hippocratic oath says, no, I don't care.
That's a great business idea, though. Like, increase your verticality by 3 inches naturally.
Well, yeah, so what they do.
It's like 30 million to get into space.
Yeah, it's like we increase it naturally by doing something that goes against biological evolution on Earth, with this gravity.
Hey,
It's organic.
there's some people that are probably willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
No, but there are, because people have leg lengthening surgeries and arm
Yeah.
lengthening surgeries and stuff. But
Well, but maybe when Elon comes out with the Starship rocket, he starts sending people up. You can just you can do that for when you're on the shuttle.
God, after having, doing a lot of dives a lot, and I come back on the surface, you feel like you're a little bit hungover for a while. Like you're like a little dazed. It's a really strenuous activity, and you've been breathing this special air brew for
Because that brain fluid, you got brain fluid in there, probably. I guess expanding, right? Because when pressure goes up, volume goes down.
Yes. So-
Okay, so then what does that mean? That means that the volume is decreasing.
Yes, but the thing is, like, liquids don't decrease nearly as much as like gases. It's like negligible.
Oh, okay.
So like,
So your brain's all good.
yeah, compressing fluids is like compressing a solid. But like,
Oh, true. Because the gas has so much space in between
yes,
them.
and so you can just smash the gases together.
Right.
Which is why I said, when you breathe, you go through air, you go through your oxygen a lot more quickly.
Right.
Because
Per
within-
capita.
per
Yeah.
cubic volume
Yeah.
capita thing, you're taking in way more oxygen molecules, which is why you burn through your air a lot more quickly the deeper you go too.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So-
So just getting more and more and more compressed.
Yeah.
And if you double your distance, then you just lost half of your air supply, basically.
Yes. Yeah. That's basically how the formula works. I think every
Yeah.
10 meters you expect you double your breathing rate or something.
Yeah.
Like you,
Because it should just be the ideal gas law, PV equals nRT, right?
Exactly.
So, damn, that sucks.
You actually have to learn that if you do PADI diving. If you go out and get diving training, you actually have
Really?
to learn basic physics like that.
That's awesome.
I think the chemists kind of co-opt that one, though, too, a little bit.
I was like, I learned that in chemistry.
Because chemists use PV equals nRT all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only do that when we're like,
Making samples.
dabbling in some, or like, maybe messing with the vacuum or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always forget where chemistry ends and physics starts.
No one really knows.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of just is just when you see yourself mixing a lot of stuff, when you start dealing with chemicals, then you can be safe. It's chemistry.
When you have an n number of molecules, that's when you go into chemistry.
Yeah, when even Avogadro's number of molecules. I
Yeah,
guess.
I was just saying, I think about chemistry and like, this electron went over there. Then all the physicists say, I look at electron charge, and I'm like, fuck.
It wasn't
I don't know what's real anymore.
like, circling back to like the TA thing.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have to explain Avogadro's number to students?
No.
No, that sucks. It sucks because
why? You just tell them it's a large ass number of molecules.
Avocado's number.
That's what I say. Avocado's number.
No, but it's a concept. Like even for me, when I first saw it, I was like, "Why is this arbitrary number of?" Like,
why is it even?
yeah, because I had a student ask, and I was like, "Oof, where do I even start?"
It's because of carbon, I believe, right? Because somebody just scooped out what they called. I think it's because all the molecules work nicely in the periodic table to almost give everything a rounded whole number, right? Because you got carbon 12, you got oxygen, oxygen 8 or something,
I think it's 8.
Okay,
valence
oxygen
electrons?
8.
Yeah.
or maybe it's carbon 6, oxygen 8.
Carbon 6, oxygen 8, yeah.
Okay, all those. I think that the AMU mass, it works out more in a whole number if you have the Avogadro's number as the number for the number of molecules per gram or something.
Yeah.
And it applies more universally to all the elements that way.
Yeah, and I know that I remember when we learned about it in high school that like, we had to learn
Hope
to do
that's
a
right.
song.
Sorry.
I think it was a little different, but I do know Avogadro did some experiment where he's like, yeah, that's it, that's a mole right there.
I know, which is like, bro, you did not count 10 to the 23rd
Is it
molecules.
6.0? I remember 6.022
times
10 to the 23rd. I remember because they made us sing this song in chemistry.
No,
We had to sing a song to memorize.
Well, I thought they like tweaked that number based on the metrics that we knew for how much an atom actually weighs, or proton actually weighs, right?
You're a physicist, not me. I don't know.
bro.
I don't know either. Though.
I don't know these like standard metric
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and I know nothing about the history of this stuff.
Okay.
You
No,
just
but-
tell
but
me
I
what
thi-
this is, and I'll believe it.
But I think you're right about Avogadro. Like this is a guy from the 1800s that came up with this. Like
You count
Yeah, but the thing is, how would he even know that?
he
It's
approximated
because-
it. He approximated it theoretically.
Yeah, and I would imagine. Oh, it was in 1800s.
Yeah, or
So
something.
before
like that.
Millikan and Rutherford.
Yeah, probably.
Damn, I don't even know how he would have done that.
Yeah,
Because my like bullshit explanation was I thought that Millikan and Rutherford already existed, and they found out the weight of a atom, and then he just extrapolated that to whatever the mass of a 1 gram of carbon is.
Yeah.
and then just extrapolated that to
That's
all
what
elements.
I think. That's what I think would happen.
That would make sense, but Juan is saying that it happened before Millikan and Rutherford, which I think might be true actually.
I don't know.
Because I think Mendeleev is the guy who invented the whole periodic table.
Yeah, Dmitri
and I think that
Mendeleev.
was a long ass time ago.
Right, that was like, it was ancient. It was old.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Before Rutherford and before Millikan, I think. So he must have done some clever shit. I don't know what he did.
Right. I think that
Bro, look
I'm
at the
just like,
picture they
man,
used of him. You know this shit's old.
yeah, definitely
See?
Avogadro.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like 1500 sort of stuff right there, man.
Man, you know he was inbred. That's like some bad inbreeding right there.
But you know what? With Avogadro's number two, is I'm thinking to myself, I think what you're saying is correct. How it had to be tweaked because the protons and neutrons aren't exactly the same weight, and
But they're effectively the same.
yeah, but like at that scale, when you're at 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd, wouldn't that the difference in the weight
I
kind
think
of
it
appear?
should be negligible.
Okay.
I would imagine because, neutron and proton pretty much can almost always be, I think, almost interchanged in weight
Okay.
effectively.
So it has nothing to do with that, though.
I don't know.
It
Okay,
was
not
it
sure.
was a theoretical calculation that was verified later
Based on what though?
after experiments. So it said Avogadro's number was first obtained indirectly by Joseph Loschmidt in 1865 estimating the number of particles in a given volume of gas. And it took the number density of particles in an ideal gas, and as a function of the pressure, the gas constant, the absolute temperature, and
How is he getting the number of particles though?
Counting them, man. He just got a microscope and got to
When
work.
was the year?
you estimate. I think you estimate. You take a known volume, right?
Yeah. But you have to know the minimum size of a particle is the key. So he has to know some information about what is the mass, the minimum mass in some sense. And if it's pre-Rutherford and Millikan, I don't know how he would have done that.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 1865.
1865?
You're getting into dangerous territory, man. So I'm going to tell you the aliens.
yeah.
The aliens gave him the knowledge.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, please don't email me.
The aliens did it.
They gave him the Nobel Prize in Physics, presumably because of this.
Damn.
Damn.
You need to look up Millikan oil drop.
Damn. That was like for proton shit, right?
Electron. So
yeah.
Millikan discovered the charge of the electron first.
Right.
And I imagine you should be able to extrapolate that
gold
based on the
foil was-
volume.
Your intuition is good. Here we go. So in 1910, Millikan obtained the first measurement of the charge of an electron by he divided the charge on a mole of electrons by the charge on a single electron.
Yeah, but that sounds like it's after when
and
the guy
it gave a more accurate estimate of the Avogadro's number.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out how that guy even did that without Millikan. How's that
even
possible?
the inaccurate one, that was kind of close, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah, how is that possible? I don't know. That's
I
crazy.
think you have to start with a known volume first of all, and then.
You do, but you need a minimum.
But what if you have?
volume,
But
too.
how do you measure density then of a gas?
Yeah, you need mass, right? Is that what you're saying?
you know what? This is a.
Yeah, we
think-
might have to do that for a
Like,
Twitter
it's-
post.
I was gonna say like this is like.
Yeah, so we're getting in the physics wheelhouse.
Yeah,
now.
No, what I'm saying is that like I feel like this is like the sort of thing that you only know if you're like sitting next to him watching him, be like, hey, what led you to doing this? Like, why would you? Like, it's
No, sometimes you can back engineer these things.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can if you can think of the right logic.
Yeah.
But I don't know
I have
because
an
sometimes
explanation.
these guys get real clever. Like I don't know if you've heard about like how they measured the radius of the Earth.
with shadows and stuff.
Yeah,
Back.
Like the
I mean,
guy,
even the,
I'm like, this dude is fucking clever.
like
man.
didn't the Indians and the Greeks do that like independently?
Probably, I think so.
So.
I just know the Greek
No,
story.
I think it was the Egyptians that did
Egyptians.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
I don't know who first did it, but I know apparently a lot of ancient people like measured pretty accurately
Yeah.
these sizes of several things.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they did it with shadows, like
In
some
the-
clever
in
shit
the
where they had
curvature and
one
stuff.
spike in one city, and then some guy, some poor, he was a slave. He walked like 20,000.
And then collapsed. He gave a number and then immediately collapsed.
Immediately collapsed and perished.
Yeah, he walked to some other far off land and then put
It's like-
another pike down, and then they measured the shadows distance
And it's funny.
extrapolated the radius. Crazy.
And it's funny because they're probably like, oh man, damn. Greece, Africa, and Asia are large. because
Right.
there's still the Americas that all these people over there had no clue about.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Did you guys hear about this Atlantis thing?
Atlantis.
Yeah, dude.
What is
What
that?
about it?
Atlantis is. I
The
looked
lost
up
city?
a video. Yeah, I looked up a video. I was right, man.
What?
What do you
I
mean?
was right about Atlantis because there's a context of Atlantis
we
existing in
debate this?
in West Africa. Did we debate this?
Atlantis fell in West
Does
Africa.
it sound like I'm about to get emails, Juan?
Sub-Saharan Africa?
Yeah, like in West Africa, that's where Atlantis was. There's like, this might be a guy's PhD thesis or something. Maybe he's working on a video essay of sorts.
Okay.
Juan, are
I'm
you
kinda
looking
buying
at
into
Vix,
it.
Are you looking at Vixra.com or are you? This is the Crank publication website.
Okay.
No, it's an interesting proposition though. Like
Okay.
he gave like some evidence of how like in East Africa there's this concentric like thing with it looks like it has an inner radius and an outer radius.
Mm-hmm.
And
What is it though? A building?
I think it's called the Riccott structure or something like that.
But what is it?
It's just this geographical thing that just exists, and scientists are like, "What the hell is
It's
this?"
a landmass.
It's a geographical
Feature.
Yeah, I would say
What does that mean?
on the Earth.
It's like a mountain,
mountain?
or a hole, or you say,
Okay.
say you look at like a shape of a continent. Oh, look, that shape. is
Yeah,
a
okay, that's what I'm
geographic
asking.
feature.
Yeah. So is it like a
It's this large structure that actually fits the dimensions of like the reported dimensions of what the Greeks said Atlantis, because it had the same concentric circle stuff.
But you said that this is in East Africa, but you're talking about
West Africa.
Okay,
sorry.
West Africa.
Yeah.
My
But the
eyebrows
thing is,
about
like, I
to go
thought that so the
very high.
Greeks were the one who came up with the whole Atlantis thing, and from my understanding, the Greeks knew about sub-Saharan Africans, but didn't really go down there as much as they went up to like North Africa, right?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. They knew of an ancient civilization in West Africa,
Okay.
and that was
Just
supposedly
let me
Atlantis.
guess, the spiral also fits the golden ratio too, huh?
No,
Right. And the pyramids too. He saw a pyramid float by.
Yeah.
And it also aligns to the stars.
Yeah.
during
No, I don't think so. I don't think the guy went into that level of detail. But I know there's a professor who's trying to like find evidence of this. But this guy just made a video essay of it, and I was like, that's interesting.
And a big old Florida sinkhole
And
brought
that's
it
the
down.
big takeaway with 01.
No,
That's
the big
bad.
takeaway is that white people don't want people to know that
Atlantis.
that Atlantis was made by West Africans, bro.
He was king.
Yeah.
You don't know. We were the true Atlanteans.
Bro, like, think about it. You guys are laughing, but it's like, dude, there's something to
They
it.
all just left to. All the original black people left to space.
They
went to space?
Nah, they didn't go to space. They went under the sea.
Yeah. Honestly,
That's why white people
escape.
don't want to give us swimming pools, because we'll
Yeah,
return to our power. That's why they kept us away from swimming pools. That's why we can't swim no more.
oh my God.
Otherwise, we'll return to our power, our true homeland, and wipe them out with our floating pyramids from Atlantis.
Okay, I'm not saying I buy into the theory, but I am saying that it's interesting.
Oh shit!
I'm just saying it's interesting. I'm the messenger. Don't crucify the messenger.
Brother, don't call me Hotep. I'm not a Hotep. I'm an Atlantean.
Dude, that'd be amazing.
That's the new thing.
I can't wait till that actually happens. Like,
There's gonna be guys in the Shikis on campus talking
wait,
about how we're Atlanteans now.
Can you actually imagine that if they actually confirmed that Atlantis was in West Africa and it like got destroyed by some supernatural, I guess some like catastrophic event? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you think the
I mean,
Hotep
there's always a
community-
likely, but like everything I've ever heard about Atlantis one, it just sounds.
Well, no,
like,
it existed, but the thing is, like, because the Greeks
How do you
can
know
confirm
it existed?
Well, because it's in the history books. Of
Well,
the,
that doesn't mean it existed, because a lot of the myths, those that came out of there was also just like, hey, we're just coming up with random stuff, you know?
yeah, I guess that's true.
Like,
I just don't know, man.
Because,
Because
like-
people say Jesus existed too, right? But like, who knows for sure?
I think
They have
he
pretty-
actually did, but
yeah.
the dispute is
how
if he
can
had
they-
God powers.
Yeah.
Well, I can pretty much tell you, spoiler alert, no.
I mean, it's pretty well documented. I think that he did exist.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
he should have existed. Like,
Most likely he did.
yeah, because there's
Most
like,
likely.
if you look back, there were like around that time there were tons of Jesus new Messiah types
Yeah.
running around. It's just that he was the one who really took off with it.
Right.
But
But then all the other guys started piggybacking off him. Like Muhammad was like, "Fuck this! I'm starting my own shit."
well, I mean, they saw him as a prophet. They believe Muhammad actually. I mean, within
Well, Muhammad was with Jesus, right? And then Muhammad's like, "Well, he's getting all the glory. I want this
Are you
too."
fucking
So-
serious?
No.
Yeah, because like they see Jesus as a prophet.
Wait,
but then
they were
s-
around at the same time?
no, they weren't around.
Oh,
at the
they
same
weren't?
time,
Okay,
no.
okay.
No, because Islam is a younger religion than Christianity is. So,
Oh, so they just called Jesus a prophet to keep the other people happy.
well, it's like you being. it's
why
like-
would they even acknowledge him?
Yeah,
my
they acknowledge
question.
his existence. Yeah,
But why would they even need to acknowledge him as a prophet? Is my question.
because they're all Abrahamic religions. It's like why it's like Christians.
So it did spawn in some way from that, right?
I don't know how it spawned, but I do know is that the Abrahamic religions from around that era always go back to Abraham and then like to Jesus and then like
So then why do we always talk about like why do you hear Prophet Muhammad?
Prophet Muhammad because
Yeah.
Jesus was a prophet and Muhammad was a prophet too.
Yeah, but I thought Muhammad was more than a prophet.
Muhammad was
in
like the guy-
Islam.
because Jesus didn't start Islam. Muhammad spread Islam according to this. So like
I don't know all the details.
yeah, so it's like Jesus spread around Christianity and he was like the focal figure. So it's kind of like that, you know?
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
it's,
mean,
like, it's like with Buddha too. Like Buddha, he was like.
Yeah, he was the main. Well, he was the only guy.
Well, yeah, and he figured it out. He had a lot of disciples, and he was one who figured it out more so than he
Yeah.
was like, I was born as
Yeah.
this thing, you know.
Right.
He just figured it out and was like letting other people know, if I recall correctly,
The way or
how
the
to
whatever it
reach
is.
from Nirvana or whatever.
Well, I was thinking Jesus, if he was alive today, he would be like a modern day rapper almost. Because his crew was like full of sinners and like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
As his posse.
yeah, because he was hanging out with like what he hung out with that prostitute lady,
Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene,
Yeah.
and like a bunch of like
was a side hoe.
sinful characters. Yeah, at the time was morally reprehensible, but Jesus was a cool guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's what people like mistake. It's so hilarious when you hear about like super, like right-wing Christians who are like have a very literal view of the Bible. I was like, you gotta understand, you worship a Jew, right?
They don't even have a literal view of the Bible.
Right.
They have a picking and choosing view
Right,
of the
you're
Bible.
right. You're completely right because they look at, they're like, oh, we don't like Jewish people, but it's like, Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was not a Christian.
Well, then they'll just claim that yeah, Jesus was the original Jew, but the Jews killed him. So
Yeah, he was an original Jew, and it was likely that the Romans killed him. Like he wasn't. So he was just.
is that the claim? I thought Jews were supposed to be the ones.
Some people say that, but apparently, like if according to everything I hear, it was the Romans that had him killed, not Jewish people.
Yeah, because I think he was spreading too many anti-government sentiments.
He was super left wing, basically, and
Yeah.
you were in the Roman Empire.
Jesus was a Democrat. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like look at it. He was taking in lepers. He was taking in like prostitutes. He was saying,
Yeah.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
look, if you messed up, you're all right.
Yeah.
He literally said all that old stuff from the old Bible. Yeah, not really. We
Yeah,
don't worry
yeah.
about that stuff anymore.
Pretty much.
Which is like we said, the selective stuff, like Leviticus, where they talk about all the rules there. Jesus basically said,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
He'd probably.
There's your
super
religious lesson,
progressive.
folks. And I think that's about our time.
Yeah.
So, any last words before we cut this?
Are you gonna kill me after this? What?
Any last word?
Also, any last words?
Any last
You
words?
Before I send you to Christ.
So next time you go into class, you say you refer to me as prophet.
Yeah.
Prophet Terence.
Yeah.
Or
Bro,
Prophet Juan?
We're
You
not
did.
at the
You
same
did tell
level.
me he did tell me he almost started a religion. Or
Let's not get into
something.
that.
No. Yeah, you did tell me that.
So let's not get into that.
All right. I don't know.
Was it to make money, or you actually believed it?
He doesn't want to get into
He
it.
doesn't want to take. It's probably a little bit of
Cut.
both.